Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2D RPG with Cree. That's me. So, today I promised you guys that we would be doing coding to be able to exit and re enter the building. So, for that, we're going to have to add some game objects to our game. We're going to have to add 3 new scripts that we don't have yet, and then we're going to do some debugging and testing, and then we're going to play with that to make sure that we exit and enter at the same place that we left off. So to start this off, uh, let's go ahead and make those game objects. So I'm just going to show you guys that we can do a create empty, delete that. We can do a control shift new, same thing. We're going to call this game object exits. Then we're going to create another game object and make it a child of exits, because who's to say that we don't have a secret exit in the corner, or anything. We could have more than one door on the house. So we want to be able to have options, so we can put all of our different exits on here. So we already made our scenes here. We have our house and our world. So we're going to change this to the house exit. And you can name this whatever you want. Just make sure you remember what the names are, because right here we actually need to make 2 new tags. So we're going to make a tag for going to the world. So we'll say world here. And then in the other scene, we're going to make a tag coming back into the house. So we'll update that. All right, so let's go to this house exit and then put our world tag on there like we had. That looks good to me. And then what do we need to do with this? We need to add a component, and then we're going to use our favorite box collider 2D. So let's go ahead and grab that. But what are we going to do with this? It's just chilling here in the middle of yonder. Nobody wants that. So we're going to move this to the left, and then we're going to move it up. You can either do that manually by grabbing here and moving it like this, or you can do it through your transform position on the actual transform tab of the object. There's multiple ways to do this. So this is how we're going to do it. And then we're going to edit this collider, zoom in here, and we're going to just make it so that if he's actually in the door, because once he hits this collider, it'll trigger him to go. So, and with that being said, we need to use this as a trigger, because if it's not a trigger, actually, I'll show you what happens. Let's take that trigger off there. Let's go ahead and play this. You can see, and it's now a collider. Now we can't walk through it, and we don't want that. When we hit that, we want it to trigger an event that we code. So that's pretty much it for that. We'll do the same thing. We're going to save this, hop over to our world. Let's get up to our house here, and then village house. And since we already have this village house, we're just going to make that an object of this house. So let's do the control shift N for a new object. Let's make that a child of the house, and then we're going to name this one house entry. If I could spell here, entry. And then, like I said, we got to create that new tag. We're going to put a tag in here, and we are going to name it house, because that's where we're going to want to go in our script. And I'll show you guys that when we get to it. But we're just setting it up for now, because, like I said before, we like doing our setups. So anyway, same thing. We need to add that box collider. Let's edit that collider. This one, we're just going to bring over here. There we go. That should be good for now. We need to make this a trigger, just like the last. Another thing we need to do that we haven't talked about yet is if we try leaving the world and bringing our player into here, our player doesn't exist. So we need to go back into our prefabs. Oh, and we don't even have a prefab yet. So let's save this scene and come in here into our house, and then into our prefabs folder that we created before. We're going to take the player and drag and drop. So now, anytime we need to make changes, we can come directly in here and apply, and or hit enter in this case. You can actually come into this prefab, click on the player, and then it'll ask if you want to save changes. If you do that, it's going to change the player in all instances of the game. So if you have 30 different scenes in your game and the player's in every single one, and you dragged him in as a game object, he is going to change across all scenes. So that way we don't have to worry about this in the future. Another big thing we need to do, this position 0, 0, 0, let's always set him at 0, 0, 0, just because that's where we want our prefab at. All right, so as you can see, everything is in here. I think we might have to, do we have our camera script on him? Let's see. I don't think so. Let's see, character movement. Player walking controller. I think our main camera has the player. So then if we go into our scene, go to world, we'll save this. We have to go into our main camera, add that follow camera script, and then come to this prefab, drag the player in, and then main camera, player, transform. So now if we hit play, we should be able to walk around in this world. Awesome. Everything's working just as planned. I do not like this background. I thought we changed this last time. Let's do it again. So we go to camera. Let's take this skybox background. Let's make it like a gray. That looks a lot better. I like that. You can make this any color you want. You can make it white. I personally like a darker shade for my background. So that's what we're going to do on mine. Alright, cool. Alrighty, so now we have everything set up. We're able to interact in both worlds, but we're not able to go back and forth between the two. So what do we need to do? You guessed it, let's make some new scripts. So we're going to create a folder, actually, to keep this organized. I'm going to call this navigation, because we're going to write 2 navigation scripts. And then we're going to have a game state script. We'll just leave that out there. So right away, we're just going to create these scripts. The first one is going to be navigation manager. And then we're going to have also a navigation prompt. Oh, come on, think here. Navigation prompt. And you know what? Let's actually just put our game state in here as well, since we already have a folder. Let's just keep this neat. So we'll call this game state, just like that. All right. So now that we're in here, I think the first one we're going to go into is our navigation manager. We'll get rid of these other scripts from the past. We already used all those. We're set and ready to go on those. All right, so what do we want to do? Well, this navigation manager is going to be running in the background regardless. So let's take out this mono behavior because we just want the script to run as a background script. All right, so we have that public class navigation. We're actually going to make this static because we took that mono behavior away. So static class navigation manager. We'll get rid of this void update and void start. Clear those out. Tab that in. So then we're going to use a new thing called the dictionary. So we're going to say public static dictionary. And I'll explain this in a second. So we're going to name string, not strung, string, and then string. And then we're going to count this route information. All right, and then now we have to define that. So this is going to be a new dictionary string, and it already pulls it up because we already have it. And then we need to call this. And then we need to make this an actual function, just like that. So now that we actually have this, we can put in our 2 things. So what do we have? We have, let's do curling brackets, and then comma, we have 2. So we'll do 2 curling brackets, comma, oops, I put a period there. Let's start over. Comma, and then curling brackets, and then comma. Oops, messing this up. And then you have to put a colon at this to end the dictionary. So the first one we have is we define that this dictionary needs to be a string and a string. So our first string is going to be our world, and make sure it's exactly the same as how you spelt it in the game. And then we're just going to say, for our description, you can add this if you want to, you don't have to. We're going to say mountain pass, just to be cool, I guess. Okay, so that first one's defined. See, our red is gone. So the same thing. We're going to go in here. We're going to say house. And then we're going to do a comma. And we're going to say starting house, because this is the starting house of our game. Just like that. So now we can see all the errors are gone. So this is our dictionary for now. We are going to expand on this later, but for now, this is what we need. So after this, we need to do like a get route information, because we have route information, but we need to get it. So let's say public static, string, and then we're going to name this get route info. Keep it nice and short. So this is going to be set as a string named destination. What do we gotta do? Curling brackets. And right away, we're going to say we're going to do a return statement, because it's a get statement, so we're just going to return right away. We're going to say route information dot contains key, and then we're going to say destination, and we're going to use that. So now we're going to do a question mark. We're going to say route information, this dictionary here, destination, and then we're going to say null. So this looks like a big scary statement here. What did I just do? So this literally reads return, well, if route info contains key destination, then we are going to return, checking and seeing if that is true, we're going to return the route info destination. And then if it's not true, we're going to return a null statement. So that's what this is an if else statement all in one. Just one nice, neat little line. This is favorable to us because it saves us on a lot of code. Okay, so we're done with this statement. Now we're going to do another public static bool, and we're going to call it can capital navigate. And then same thing, we're going to do a string and name it destination. And then same thing, curling brackets. And this time, return true for now. That looks good to me. So we have our get route information already done. We're doing our can navigate, and this is a bool, and that's true. And then finally, we need to do public static void navigate to string destination again. A little repetitive, but at least we know what we're talking about. And for now, we're just going to comment this out. We're going to add code later in a second, and I'll explain it as we go. Add code in a second. There we go. So what do we have to do now? We have to come into our actual navigation prompt script. So let's come back in here. It's going to compile. Surprised it didn't go as in yours. Into our navigation prompt script. And let's see here. So we have navigation prompt. We're going to keep the mono behavior. We'll get rid of this avoid in our start. And we're actually going to do those on collisions. So we're going to do avoid on collision enter 2D. We're going to call it collision 2D collision. It did that for us with the tab. So we're going to say if we're going to pull up our navigation manager. Navigation manager dot can navigate, and then it's going to look at those tags that we created. So we're going to say this tag. So it's going to check if we can or cannot travel to whatever the town or the house or vice versa. We're going to come in here and right away let's do a debug log. Debug.log. And then we're just going to say something like attempting to leave. Okay. And then we're going to add the actual tag. Delete to tag. That sounds good. All right. And then we're going to say navigation manager dot navigate to. So this is the one that we're going to add code to. And we're going to say this dot tag. So it will take us to whatever tag we have specified. So in the house, it takes us to the world. In the world, it takes us back to the house. Also, we need to do an on trigger. Let's see. So private void on trigger enter 2D collision. So same thing if navigation manager can navigate this tag. We need to add that last parenthesis. We're going to do another debug log. And say attempting to leave to, and same thing, plus the tag. And then we're going to do the same thing, navigation manager dot navigate to this dot tag. Okay, cool. So this is just the differences for the actual on collision enters and the on collision triggers. So we're using a trigger in this case, so we're going to use that trigger, and then we're going to run this code. So what do we need to go do from here? So let's save this. Let's go back to our navigation manager. We're actually going to create a structure, so public struct, and we're going to call it route. In this route, we're going to define a public string, route description, one word, one sentence here, route description, and then we're going to do public bool can travel. So with this bool, we can tell people whether they can or cannot travel. So if you want, say you leave the house and you don't want somebody going back in, we're going to set this to false so they can't ever go back. Same thing, like you finish a boss area or temple or whatever, this is going to allow you to create something in your game where they won't be able to go back afterwards. Or you can even use this for checking if you have a certain item and you cannot travel until you have the item, then you can do an if statement to check if the character has that item, and then set that to true if the item is available. You can do a lot with this, so we can have fun with that. So then, of course, we need to update our dictionary because we're adding this route information. So we're going to do string and change this to route And then obviously we have to change this to route as well. Otherwise it's going to mad at us. So now it has this string, and we need to come in here and actually define this. So after this comment, we need to say new route, like so. And then we need to do a curling bracket inside of here and say route description, which we defined. Description equals mountain pass. We don't want to close this yet, actually. And then we need to set that can travel to true. So here, this is where you would set it to false if you don't want them to go back. So then you would just say false instead of true. I want to be able to go back and forth though. So we're just going to leave it like this, and then make sure to close out both of these curling brackets and put your comma. So then it'll define the next one. So this first statement is good. Same thing. So we're gonna say house, new route group, whatever, however you want to say it. Route description equals starting house, comma, can travel, and then mine's going to be true because I want to be able to go back. And then we'll close that curling, and all of our errors should be gone. That looks good to me for now. Then what else? We can see down here that we're getting an error in our public static get route info. Obviously, we need to change this. Now this return needs to just say return information dot contains key destination, and then route information destination dot route description, and that should take care of that and clear it up. I'll keep that as null. Then we need to change this can navigate from this true statement. So we changed everything around with the route, with the structured route. So we need to change this return statement to the same thing. So route information dot contains key destination. Close that off. And we're going to check the route information destination. Close that off. Dot route description is true or not, and if it is not true, we're going to set it to false. And this is not going to be route description. This is going to be can't travel, because we're seeing if we can navigate, so we need to call our can travel structure here. So that looks good to me. Then what else do we need to do? I think now we can actually do this public static void here. So let's add this code here. We're going to say scene manager, which we don't have yet. So if you come up to the top, you can say using unity dot scene. Oops, what did I do? Unity engine dot scene management. And now if we come here, you can say scene manager dot load scene destination. This is a really good way to use this with the scene manager. Unity added this pretty good function. I'm happy with it. It works really well. So now that we have this all set up, we actually need to hop back into our game. Let's minimize this. And we have two scenes, but how are we supposed to reference it? So let that code load. We're going to go to build settings, and in these build settings, oh, where's my little window? Why didn't it pop up? It's off in the yonder, I guess. I think we can drag and drop these scenes in. So let's see here. Let's move this over. Take it off the screen a little bit. Scenes. And then you can just drag and drop both of these scenes into that scene window. So now we'll bring this back so you can see what I'm talking about. So we have our scene house and our scene world. Before Unity, you'd have to call the order in the layer it was, so you'd have to call scene 0 or call scene 1. But now it has that scene manager script that we can use. So this is good. So, let's go back in there, build settings, make sure they stayed. All right. So, let's see if this actually works. So let's hit save. Let's go to the house, exits, house exit. And then I'm pretty sure in the house exit, that's where we add this navigation prompt script. Navigation prompt script. Okay, let's try this out. Pretty sure we did everything that we need to do. So there we go. Ta-da. We don't go back yet. I have no colliders on this house. This is where we did that last time. Maybe we have to fix that. Are there any colliders? Yep, we have colliders over here. I must have not saved after our last video, so we'll put colliders on this house as well. But yeah, so we go up. So that's a good thing. So same thing. Let's see here. If we go to our world, we'll save. We have our village house. I thought we changed this too. We'll call this house entrance. Component navigation prompt. Let's see if this works. There we go. So we are going in and out of our house. Ta-da! So we didn't use the game state manager in this game, but we will use it in the next video that I do. We need to be able to tell where we are, because look, if we leave this building, we pop out because that's where we put our prefab player. When we go back in, we're in the middle of the house. That's not good. We're facing the right direction, but in the middle of the house. Obviously, you walk through a door. You're not going to spawn in the middle of the house at 0, 0 on the transform. So in the next video, we're going to go over how to do that. We're going to work in that game state script, and wherever it is in navigation, we're going to work in this game state script that we have nothing in, and we're going to have to make updates to both of these scripts to check where our player is. All right, thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. Maybe subscribe to my channel. Next video, we will be updating the scripts. Thank you.